Hey you guys, this is Tired Goth, and you are reading Malware with me. Quick shout out to the guy. Did you catch that? A quick shout out to the guy who said I had it going on today. Thank you so much. So today's paper is actually going to be a more recent paper. We're going to backtrack to March 2025 for this particular PDF on the Ghost Socks Residential Proxy IOC. So this was written on March 25th of this year, and the opening paragraph states, our ongoing research into Luma C2 InfoStealer malware family led the SpyCloud Labs team to uncover a very interesting connection between Ghost Socks, a residential proxy plugin, and the pervasive InfoStealer. Through our digging, we found that recent versions of Luma C2 gave bad actors a back connect proxy into their infected victims' machines, allowing them to launch attacks as if they were the victim. Okay, quick thing that I'd like to mention here about what is being presented is info stealers are almost considerably always backdoors. They're almost always backdoors. So if you're working with a backdoor, what that means is you as an attacker are using some sort of a plugin or like an infiltration dropper to target someone's machine and then like start harvesting information off of their box, right? That's basically how that works, but it works its way in through a vaguely presented sort of source. So what you're going to have is like an info dropper, you're going to have a malware hot link, you're going to have something that introduces it as something else. This will gain access to the machine and then grant further access to credentials that belong to the machine and the administrator who owns the machine, which is exactly how they got to this privilege escalation here, as if they were the owner of the machine, as if they were the victim. So what it did in this case is it also mirrored the identity of the person who got attacked to make it look like the attack was coming from their own machine. So this is what's called, if I'm not mistaken, IP mirroring, right? It takes your IP address, your DNS information, anything that's local to the machine. It could also be your offline, like physical address, and it copies it onto the attack site. So if someone were to look into the attack and say, like, where is this coming from, what it's going to do is present information that belongs to the victim. It's also called IP spoofing. I want to say spoofing, right? But spoofing is something that can happen a couple of different ways, so I don't want to get, like, too locked in on that word there. The consequences of this, as you can imagine, are substantial. It gives actors a much easier time of bypassing access control methods, such as Google's cookie access control methods, which Luma C2 heavily abuses to refresh expired tokens. Now, if you had been paying attention to one of the previous shows that I did on this segment, there is something called a node timing mechanism, which will verify or at least allow some time to verify cookies and other timeable cached objects like passwords, credit card information, all that kind of stuff, right? And if the time expires for that cookie to be valid as accepted by the point that's trying to receive it, it stops working because there is an encryption like thing that's attached to it that's supposed to help, make it acceptable as like a token. And if that doesn't stay acceptable because it's not redeemable within that time frame, then it kind of cancels the transaction and you have to restart the entire process. So what this actually does is it refreshes and revives to make redeemable the expired session, the expired entity that was there, held in that space, that would have been rendered rather impossible to use once the time ran out. So what this does is it uses the credentials that it steals or the identity of the host that it's attacking to make this possible, because what will happen is if you ever have an expired session and your browser says, would you like to refresh this even though there's expired data, you as the person who owns the device or the machine can do that. You can say, yes, I permit this. But in the case of the attacker using the identity, they're actually mirroring that entire identity in order to be able to approve or deny that request. So what they do then, once they have the approval, they refresh it to the extent of like abusing the ability to refresh that information at all, to the extent of making it reusable possibly numerous times to whatever their end of use and course of action is. So it's like, it's sort of taking what was that was expired and then like reviving it for the specific purpose of getting back into an access point. This is also similar to like forging a fake set of keys and just reusing that over and over again until it breaks. It's that type of mentality for the operation and the tactic there. So, in order to better understand the threat that Ghost Socks poses to organizations, our analysts here at SpyCloud Labs decided to do a deeper analysis of Ghost Socks, and in doing so, uncovered some key unique techniques that make Ghost Socks a threat to defenders that they should take quite seriously. So, okay, the really super cool thing about this is when you're dealing with plugins or socks proxies or anything like this, you already have a layer of encryption. And this is cool for a couple of reasons. You already have like a layer of encryption that's meant to mask something that's already there. But the thing is, this is also easy to pick apart if you yourself are employing it or, making use of it in some way. But in the case of an attacker, they're only there to gain information. An attacker's motive is to gain information. So they may not have that information right off the bat until they attacked you or unless they attacked you. But what they are doing is also using the plugin itself as like a backdoor entry to retrieve more information. And what this actually does is it leaves a trail of where they've been. It leaves a trail of their attack method and mode. And essentially, like, as I'm scrolling through the paper, I'm like on page 4, and there's quite a bit of pictures rather than like written text here. Okay, so at the bottom of page 4 it says, its inclusion of TLS wrapping in the established back connect tunnel adds a level of secrecy and security to connections. And the full analysis in the independent persistence section on the bottom of page 4 going into page 5 says, while most Ghost Socks binaries depend on the malware that installed it for persistence, meaning its consistent activity and its ability to stay on the attacked machine as it was presented the first time that it was able to gain access to it. Our analysts were able to find exe or executable for Windows binaries that have a persistence mechanism baked into Ghost Socks directly. Okay, so Ghost Socks, as a program, an application, or anything that's useful as it is, had something sort of like infused with it. That was a backdoor that allowed anybody who installed Ghost Socks at any point to then have the infected portion of that data kind of just looming around there. And this mechanism, which can be viewed below, leverages registry run keys. If you don't know what that is in Windows, the registry run keys are quite sensitive in the form of data. It's your passwords, credentials, authorizations to continue running apps. It can give you, live feedback of the apps that are currently in use, programs that are in use in this case, because it's a program, it's not an application on a phone, but it is being applied in the way that it's being used. So the way that this is actually happening is the entire, program itself has the infected module, stuck in it. It's sort of like if somebody gave you, a corn dog, but inside, instead of a corn dog being a hot dog, it had, I don't know, a uranium tube or something in it, something definitely that was not supposed to be there, but on appearance alone, you would not be able to notice it, right? It was only when the application or program in this instance was run that something was amiss. And the persistence aspect of this uses the registry keys to gain access and then persist the access. So once the access is, collected by the attacker, it can then use the keys as if they were the person who got attacked, meaning that their identity is then, reused that way. But with respect to, I don't know if this was mentioned in the paper yet because I haven't read this paper yet, which was hosted by VX Underground, by the way. Go check them out, vxunderground.org. I'll link them in the description, and I'll link the paper as well. They are an amazing malware repository. They have live samples, they have papers, they have so much documentation. Go check them out. They're incredible. But yeah, so what this actually does is it presents the entire application as an infected entity. But this, I don't know if they mentioned that this could have been a supply chain type of attack, or at least the intention matches something that would have been a supply chain attack. I don't know if this was caught properly on the footage, but this could have mimicked a supply chain attack and how it usually goes, because you're getting it from an official source, the program or application in question, the download, but you're also getting a copy that has been infused with something problematic and it's not native to the application. For example, when the person who developed Ghost Socks wrote this program, they did not say, and this is what else is going to be attached to it. Like, it was baked into the application theoretically by someone not programming it, right? But then again, this is also, in a sense, an assumption on my part. We don't know if the people who developed Ghost Socks had this intention to release the program this way. I would probably have to do further research on this, since this is also the first I'm hearing about this since March. So there is that. But I'm going to leave you with this, and I just hope you enjoyed the episode that I put together. I hope you enjoyed the information as much as I did, because I look forward to reading the rest of this paper too. And if you'd like to read along, I'd be glad to talk with you on IRC or whatever. And yeah, this is Tired Goth. You read malware with me. Thanks for joining me. If you're new to this, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are a subscriber and you've been here for a little while, welcome back. It's always good to have you here, and I'm super grateful that you're still tuning in, that you're still liking my stuff, that you're still giving the attention to my channel. And I just want to say thank you to you all, and I hope you're having an amazing day. Check out the links that are in the description. There's a ton of stuff there, and if you'd like to book a class with me, let me know. I'll leave some contact information so you can get to me too. So I'll see you guys later. Bye. Love you.